Mr. Okocha, let me ask you, I noticed that you've served on the board of directors of a foundation called the Greenlining Institute. Is that right? Have I got that right?
Yes, Senator.
Since 2021, looks like.
Yes, Senator.
And you were previously a legal fellow at the same institute? The website of the organization says that it focuses on, I'm going to quote it now, the intersection of climate action, racial justice, and economic equity. Have I got that right?
I believe so, Senator.
Okay,
Yes.
Fair enough. All right, so I assume that you're also familiar with the Supreme Court's recent and widely reported, much commented upon decision, Student for Fair Admissions versus Harvard. You know about that case?
Yes, Senator.
Yeah, that's the case that held that Harvard and some other universities, that their admissions programs that took into account race-based factors were unconstitutional under the 14th Amendment, Equal Protection Clause. All right, I'm asking you this because I want to ask you something that the Greenlining Institute said about that case. The Greenlining Institute said that that ruling by the Supreme Court of the United States, striking down consideration of race in college admissions, that's an accurate rehearsal of what the opinion is, that decision is a willful disregard of America's racist history. Let me ask you, does that represent your view?
Senator, I'm not familiar with that statement, and I can tell you, Senator, that I did not aid in crafting that statement, and I can tell you that I recognize that SFFA versus Harvard is the law of the land, and that if I were confirmed as a judge, I would apply that law and would apply the law in SFFA versus Harvard.
Okay, very good. Let me ask you about one other. It's a lengthy statement, but let me ask you about one other piece of it. Same statement from the Greenlining Institute about the same case. The statement is, this quote is, "We need race-conscious solutions to the longstanding and persistent structural barriers caused by systemic racism." Now, the reason I'm asking about that is that's exactly what the Supreme Court says in the Fair case the universities may not do. So does this reflect your view of the law?
Senator, I'm also not familiar with that statement, and I can tell you that if confirmed as a judge, I would apply the binding precedent that you spoke of, SFFA versus Harvard, if a case of affirmative action were to come before me.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to drive towards, is obviously you can think whatever you want about the cases. I've been known to criticize Supreme Court cases quite vociferously if I think that they're wrong. But of course, the position that you're going to have, should you be confirmed, will be different. And I just want to be sure that whatever your views may be on any number of cases, that whether you like it or hate it or whatever you think of the precedent, if it's binding precedent, that you'll apply it faithfully. And your testimony is today is that you will, whatever your views may be. Is that correct? I've got that right?
Yes, Senator, without a doubt.
Okay. Let me ask you about something else unrelated to this, but related to your work as a prosecutor. You said earlier that you have experienced prosecuting cases involving sex abuse, and the materials you submitted to the committee, I noticed that includes sexual abuse of minors. I'm wondering if you've ever prosecuted a case involving child sex abuse material, CSAM.
Yes, Senator.
So my question is on that. Do you think, reflect a little bit on your experience in these horrible cases, do you think that criminal penalties against those who are convicted of child sex abuse material, distributing it, having it, making it, using it, do you think that those penalties ought to be strengthened? Do you think we're doing enough to punish and deter the people who engage in that kind of terrible behavior?
Senator, what I can tell you is that I don't believe that's my province. I think that's the province of yourself and other legislatures to determine what the appropriate sentences should be, maximum sentences should be with regards to those crimes. But I can tell you that as a prosecutor, I have worked hard to make sure that people who do commit those crimes are held accountable.
Very good. I'll have some other questions for those of you I didn't get to ask a question. I'm just very disappointed I didn't get to ask you questions. So I'll submit a few for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.